F1 in 5 minutes. Today we're going to be talking about the bizarre story of Pastor Maldonado's first and only F1 win. Now Williams today, while still sort of back in the midfield team, could and have scored a podium, even though it is very unlikely and very difficult. Carlos Sainz in fact did get a podium at this year's race at Baku. However, in 2012 it was a very different story at Williams. Before this race, their last podium was in 2008. Despite Pastor Maldonado almost getting a podium in Melbourne but crashing out on those closing stages. And their last win, 2004, 8 years ago. Although they had a few points finishes that season, they were all over the place and really struggled the entire season. Most people watch F1 will definitely know the name of Pastor Maldonado and will know him as being someone who crashes a lot, especially with other drivers. Quick side note, why is it with Williams signing drivers who become notorious memes for crashing a lot? Maldonado, Stroll, Latifi, Sargent. Anyway, despite this, he did experience some notable success in the junior categories. For example, he won the Italian Formula Renault 2000 Euro Cup title and won his fourth ever race GP2 in Monaco. A notable improvement from his 2005 Italian Formula 3000 race in Monaco, where he received a 4-race ban for not slowing under yellows and striking and injuring a marshal. That should tell you a lot about how Pastor Maldonado drives. Lewis Hamilton would initially qualify on pole for the Spanish Grand Prix. At least that was until he was disqualified for running below the minimum amount of fuel. Now this promoted Pastor Maldonado to pole. Now the fact that he legitimately got second quickest, especially in 2012, was incredibly impressive. Red Bull were in their prime, the McLarens were quick, Lotus were quick and often at the top, especially with Raikkonen. Alonso was often at the top with Ferrari, and so there definitely wasn't a lack of competition. In fact, the exact opposite, there was loads of competition. This grid had the most World Championship drivers than any other grid in any other season. Now you could say maybe they happened to have a car that was set up specifically for qualifying and, one lap pace. Would probably be slow in the race. However, that didn't turn out to be the case exactly. Maldonado, as expected, was overtaken by Fernando Alonso into turn 1. However, he didn't just drop off. In fact, he would stay close to Alonso within a few seconds all the way up to the pit window, where Maldonado would successfully undercut Alonso to regain the lead, not once, but twice. But where was everyone else? As previously mentioned, Lewis started from the back and also suffered a slow pit stop. Now Vettel or Massa would get a penalty for ignoring yellow flags after Michael Schumacher crashed into the back of Bruno Senna, Maldonado's teammate, and Alonso would also get held up by back marker Charles Pic, who would then get a penalty for that. Raikkonen attempted to make a late pit stop to pass both Alonso and Maldonado, and hopefully force him into a late pit stop. However, Maldonado would cross the line to take his first win, followed by Alonso and Raikkonen, scoring Williams' first win since 2004, and their first win for what would be a while, and his first and only win in Formula 1, and I believe possibly the first and only win by a driver from Venezuela. Now, if the race itself wasn't strange enough, not only with qualifying but the race itself, the Williams garage caught fire around an hour and a half after the race. This, on top of the victory, brought a lot of attention and theories around the race win and all that went around it, such as Williams using custom Pirelli tyres, since they'd just done some private tests not too long before the race, which would gain him an advantage. However, it was actually Senna's car that is said to have started the fire, and Maldonado's car wasn't even in the garage, which would make sense as Senna's car was damaged from the contact with Schumacher, and it is possible that that could have caused something that would later cause a fire. The rumours of Williams cheating to gain an unfair advantage have been widely talked about, but consistently denied. Now, whether or not they actually did cheat, or whether it was a legitimate win, it still remains a crazy story that was part of an even more crazy season. And that is the story of Pastor Maldonado's first and only F1 victory. Thank you for watching.